All right, today we're going to tear apart this really intense little survival story. We're going to see how every single word is chosen to crank up the tension and tell a much bigger story, one about loyalty and the raw power of nature. So let's just dive right in.
So it all kicks off with this one line. And look, this isn't just an opening sentence, right? It's a promise. It's basically a contract with us, the reader. It sets the stakes so high right from the get-go. There are going to be consequences, and they're going to be irreversible. From this moment on, we know every single step they take forward is a step away from any chance of going back.
And so, the journey begins. In this first part, entering the unforgiving jungle, we meet our heroes and get thrown right into this oppressive world that feels like it's actively fighting against them. This is the setup. The stage is being set for a serious life-or-death struggle.
And you gotta pay attention to how the jungle is described here. It's not just a backdrop, it's practically a living, breathing monster. The author uses these really active words to bring it to life. Branches don't just hang there, they grab. Vines trip you up. The canopy is literally swallowing the light. The environment itself is the very first enemy they have to face.
And then we meet our two heroes. On one hand, you've got John. He's human, which means he's vulnerable, but he's also incredibly determined. And right by his side is his German shepherd, Bruno, who's just fiercely loyal, super protective, and running on pure instinct. Now, this isn't just a guy and his pet. This is a real partnership, a team. And as you're about to see, their survival is going to depend completely on that bond.
Okay, so moving into section 2, the escalating gauntlet. This is where things really start to get hairy. The story starts cranking up the tension. Now that we know who we're dealing with, the challenges don't just pop up randomly, they get worse and worse, pushing our characters closer and closer to their absolute breaking point.
You can totally see how the danger just keeps ramping up. First, it's just the passive threat of the jungle itself, the tricky terrain. Then, bam, we get a direct, active predator, a giant anaconda. And finally, the path itself seems to funnel them towards some even bigger, unknown danger. The story makes sure that every new obstacle is way more terrifying than the last.
Yeah, this moment right here, it's so important. It's not just some cool action scene. It hammers home that theme of partnership. John is completely vulnerable here, but Bruno's instinct and loyalty save his life. I mean, think about it. Without his partner, the story would have been over right then and there. That bond they have, it's their #1 survival tool.
Which, of course, brings us to the big one, the climax. Section 3, the point of no return. This is it. This is the moment the title promised us. Everything that's happened so far, the jungle grabbing at them, the snake attacking, it's all been a warm-up for this single final showdown. The whole story, everything they've been through, it all just boils down to this one question. After being hunted and trapped and pushed to exhaustion, they're facing one last barrier that seems totally impossible. Their entire fate hangs on the answer to this. And then, in a classic, kinda cruel twist, their only way out? Well, it turns out to be the biggest threat yet. Can you imagine the sheer terror of that moment? You see a river, you think freedom, and then that feeling just turns to pure horror as you realize the water is teeming with snakes, and they're all looking right at you. There's no way around. They have to go through.
So what do you do in a situation like that? There's only one choice. They jump. It's a total leap of faith, an all-or-nothing move. They just dived straight into that cold, chaotic water, which is just a mess of debris and, deadly snakes. This jump, this is the literal point of no return.
And just like before, right in the middle of all that chaos, it's the partnership that saves the day. A snake lunges for John, and in that split second, Bruno intervenes. He creates that one vital distraction. It's this moment of pure, selfless loyalty that buys John just enough time to get away.
So they make it. They finally drag themselves onto the shore. But this isn't some heroic victory lap. The story is very clear about that. They're just survivors. Soaked, freezing, completely exhausted, having barely escaped. They've crossed the river, but the ordeal has taken a huge toll.
Just because they survived the river doesn't mean the story's over, not by a long shot. Because every escape comes with a price. And this final section, Survival and Its Scars, is all about the deep psychological marks that this whole nightmare has left behind.
Wow, that closing line is it's haunting, isn't it?
It tells you that even though they're physically safe now, the experience has left a permanent scar. The jungle isn't just a place on a map anymore. It's a memory. It's a trauma that's going to live with them forever.
And that's really the final word on the jungle itself. It's not painted as some evil villain. No, it's something way more chilling than that. It's indifferent. It just operates by its own ancient, relentless rules. And in a way, that indifference is scarier than actual malice. The jungle just is.
Okay, so we followed the story from start to finish. We've seen the whole journey. But now, for this last section, let's pull back the curtain a little bit. Let's analyze what makes this story tick. What are the tools the author is using that make it so powerful?
What we're really looking at here, at its heart, is a classic man versus nature conflict. John and Bruno aren't fighting some bad guy with a plan. They're fighting the raw, unforgiving power of the natural world itself. And that's one of the oldest, most powerful kinds of stories we tell.
And the reason it hits so hard is because it's playing with these huge, universal ideas that we all get, right? That primal, instinctual drive to survive, the idea of unbreakable loyalty, the terrifying indifference of nature, and of course, the incredible power of a partnership to help you beat impossible odds. These are the things that make the story stick with you.
So when you boil it all down, what's the big takeaway here? It's that this story isn't just about a guy and his dog running through the woods. It's actually a masterclass in how to build tension using escalating conflict, and how to use a single, powerful relationship to explore what loyalty really means. It's just a lean, mean, emotional experience-creating machine.
So I want to leave you with this final thought. The story uses a very real, physical point of no return to create drama. But we all have those, don't we? Metaphorical ones, in our own lives. Those decisions, those moments that completely change your path forever. So, what was yours?